Well, we are now live on YouTube, and we're actually live on Facebook as well. Because why are we live, Daryl?
It's been a big night.
It's a little bit of a big night.
It is.
Yeah. So we actually had a question come in from Mark Hamill because we tweeted out from the Story Geeks account. Thank you, Caitlin, by the way, who's actually the one that tweeted this. Caitlin tweeted out a quote from Dale Wentland from the Network 1901. So hopefully, Dale, you're on Facebook and you're checking this out because
Josh is.
Josh is on there.
Yeah.
So Josh can chat with us.
Yep.
But basically, we tweeted out a quote from Dale Wentland that there was just a joke, and Caitlin texted at Mark Hamill, and so we thought what we'd do is we'd actually look at Mark Hamill's response and actually have a Story Geeks conversation about that response because it was a really Story Geeks oriented response.
I think you skipped over something though.
What did I miss?
Mark Hamill responded.
Yeah, Mark Hamill responded to our tweet.
Yes.
Which is super fun, obviously, and Mark's a super cool guy. I've followed Mark for a long time because he's one of the Star Wars people who kind of loves being a Star Wars person. So he's just constantly fun to follow.
He's a cool dude.
So his thing, we tweeted out basically a meme that said, "Don't stand over nephew with lightsaber," because obviously
Note to self: don't stand over nephew with lightsaber.
So obviously, if you've seen the movie, you know that one of the rifts that was caused and what kind of caused Kylo Ren to turn evil was that he thought that Luke Skywalker was going to kill him.
Yeah.
There's a moment in the film where he does that. And so we tweeted that out to Mark Hamill, and Mark Hamill's response was, I had to get into that scene, I'm paraphrasing here, to get into that scene, I had to ask the question of basically like, would you kill baby Hitler?
Yeah.
And that's how I had to prepare for that scene. And so we thought we would just do a quick live video and actually respond to Mark in video format about that question and ask that question, which actually has been answered on the Story Geeks podcast before by Sam Welbaum and Daryl Smith on the Captain America Winter Soldier
about a year
podcast. Ago. Yeah, so now we're just gonna bring that up again and hash it out. So Daryl, what are your thoughts around this topic as we look at it?
Well, I mean, it's a question that makes sense given the situation because you know that this person you're standing over with a lightsaber is. And Hitler as well is going to go on to cause all of these horrific things in the world and kill all of these people and cause all of this oppression and just be one of our great real world examples of evil. And you're standing over him, and do you have the power? You have the power to prevent that by killing him. But when we did the podcast with Sam, he's like, there's a big difference between would you go back in time to kill Hitler or going back in time to kill baby Hitler.
Yes. And one of the things he didn't really talk about, because what he talked about was when he asked the question, would you go back in time and kill Hitler? One of the things that came up was that a lot of his students, he's a professor of philosophy. In fact, if you want to hear like a ton of really deep thinking, go listen to that podcast. But what he found was that his students would normally say, yes, I would definitely go back in time and kill Hitler. But when he changed the question and said, would you go back in time and kill baby Hitler? The answers were much different. Yes. There was a much different response. So why is that, Daryl? Why is there a difference in the response?
Well, because it's prejudgment, isn't it? I mean, you're judging somebody for something they haven't done yet.
Right.
So the question becomes, do you just kill them and eradicate them? Is that right? Is that wrong?
Right.
Personally, I think it's wrong. I think in the Last Jedi, Luke made the absolute right choice in not killing Kylo.
Yeah.
So good job, Mark Hamill. We support you.
That's right.
But it's a prejudgment. So the question really is, do you kill it? Do you throw the baby Hitler out with the bathwater? Or do you try and change it somehow? Do we kill Kylo or do we try and make Kylo better?
Yeah. And I think there's so many different, deeper questions that are involved in this because the first question you have to ask is there one timeline? So this is something we talk about on the Story Geeks podcast, right? Like, how many alternate timelines are there?
Yeah.
So the first question is there one timeline? So, and we talked about this a little bit, actually, with Josh Taylor when we talked about the Back to the Future podcast.
Yes.
Because in Back to the Future, there's just one timeline. There's not alternate timelines. So in that kind of scenario, you could go back in time and kill baby Hitler because you kind of know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You're not setting off two alternate timelines that would be actually different. So when you go back in time, which timeline are you altering? That's a big deal, right? So I mean, so there's an astrophysics nature to the question. There's also a spiritual dimension to the question, because I think you have to ask yourself, is this person's destiny able to be altered? Right. So you have to ask the question of, is this are people's lives set in stone, or do they have free will, and can they actually maneuver around? Because like you said, do we kill him to prevent, the Holocaust, to prevent millions of people dying? Not only the Holocaust, but the wars wherein millions more people died.
Yes.
So do you do
and
that?
all of the fanatics that have followed in his philosophy since.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So we even have today, we have neo-Nazis, which is insane that we have that. So what do you do with that? Like, do you kill him to prevent those things from happening, or does he have free will, and can you actually be an influence on his life? Was the hurt in his life what caused him to hurt others, or is there something bigger going on there?
Right.
So ultimately, where do you stand on the topic? Where do you come away with an answer?
I mean, I said it before. I would not kill baby Hitler. I wouldn't kill teenage
That sounds like
Kylo.
sounds like a really terrible cartoon, by the way.
It does, and I'm sure it is. It's probably out there somewhere.
Don't watch it.
Don't
if it's out there. Don't
do it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't do it. I would hope for something better. I would hope for a chance of redemption. I would hope for a change, because I would want somebody to hope for that for me.
Yeah. Something you said on the podcast with Sam Welbaum when you're talking about Captain America Winter Soldier, I thought was really, really, really important, because you said, basically, I'm going to paraphrase what you said, but you said, I don't believe that there's anyone who isn't flawed.
Right.
And because I want a chance at redemption, I would also like to hope that I could see redemption happen in someone else. Yeah. And I think that's really where the question comes in with Sam Welbaum, where he's basically saying, when you ask about the adult Hitler, there's a very low likelihood that you could change the adult Hitler.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about the baby Hitler, there's a pretty high degree of likelihood that you could change that person's scenario and actually have them have a different result. Mm-hmm. So I do think that's a really important distinction to be made, because I think that I agree with you. Like if I believe in free will, and if I believe in a single timeline, then what I'm saying is I would rather alter this person's destiny as opposed to preventing them from doing anything.
Yeah.
And we also have, there's also the implications of, like, you kill baby Hitler, but what does that set off in the world? Like, what else happens with
the butterfly effect?
The butterfly effect. So love to hear other people's thoughts. If you're on YouTube right now, you can comment. If you are on our Facebook live feed, hello, first of all. But also leave us some comments and let us know, because I think it's a really fascinating question, because as an actor, I think, and I've never been an actor, so just know that I've worked with actors. We did Star Wars Rivals, our Star Wars fan film, which you can watch on YouTube, actually, on the Reclamation Society channel. But when we did that film, I got a chance to work with actors, and what I noticed was that they have a very distinct, I have to understand where this person is coming from, or else they won't be honest.
Yeah.
What I do will not be honest. And so I think what is really cool about what Mark Hamill is saying is he's basically saying, I had to find some way that I would do this.
Yeah.
Because we've all heard Mark talk about this a little bit. This was a role where he was challenged to think of Luke in a very different light than he was generally thinking of him. So this is how much I follow Mark Hamill. I know all the things that he's talked about. And I think that this is a really fascinating question, because if he asks it this way, now he's able to see where his character might get to the place where he's saying, I think I better do something about this.
Yeah.
But we also know that Luke is one of the most hopeful characters in the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah, he's the one that sees the light in everybody.
Exactly. So leave us a comment. This is just a short video. We're not going to hang out for very long. We just wanted to get in a really quick response and invite you guys into this conversation, because once you have a conversation with Mark Hamill, like, pretty much your life is complete. And if you guys want to jump in, you never know. Maybe he'll respond to one of your comments or questions, and that would be super cool too. So thanks for being a story geek. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right.
Bye, Facebook. There we go. Bye, YouTube.